and hit record so we can record this meeting so we can write up the notes later. Okay, so today we have some important items to vote on, and the first of those items will come under the committee reports. So we're going to start out with committee reports, and the only committee that met in this past month was the Continuum of Care Grant Review Subcommittee, and Suzette from that subcommittee is here to give a report. So she's going to give a report about the process of scoring and reviewing the grants, and finally how the group chose to prioritize each of the Continuum of Care grants for the 2014 competition. And then I'll ask for the COC board to make a final recommendation on whether or not, or choose whether or not to approve the final recommendation of the subcommittee. After that, we will hear from Pamela Lewis of the Southeast Texas Continuum of Care regarding a merger request her members wanted to make to the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care. And once we have discussed that, then we'll ask for the board to take a vote on that, on whether or not to approve that merger. Then we just have some updates on some items of information that we think you would be interested in. Jesus is going to give us an update on the HMIS program, and then I'll give you an update on something that I sent out earlier today. It's the Technical Assistance Grant for Project Development. We're going to do that instead of recapping the conference. I hope that is okay with everyone, but I think there will be interest in this grant opportunity. And then finally, Mary will discuss the SNAPS Technical Assistance opportunity that we emailed you about earlier this week, and the SSBF Notice of Funding Availability, and a webinar that will be coming up about that. So those are all the items we'll be talking about today. And again, I want to ask for your patience in case there are any audio difficulties like there were earlier. Let's just cross our fingers that that doesn't happen. But if it does, we will try to return online as soon as possible. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started with the roll call, and I will do my best to say your name correctly and identify what coalition you're from or what agency you're with. So I'm going to go ahead and start here at the top, and I'm going to unmute you as you go so you can mute yourself after I've done that. If we get a lot of background noise, then I'll just go ahead and mute everyone. But you can always type in a question. Okay, joining us from the West Texas Homeless Network is Alana Jeter. Joining us from the Texarkana Homeless Coalition and the Friendship Center is Alice Bracken. And I'm sorry, Alice, I had to go ahead and mute you as getting background noise. Andrea Wilson is joining us from Tyler. And I always forget, but I think you're with PATH now. And Raziz is joining us from, I'm sorry, Ann, I do not remember where you're joining us from. You can type it in and I'll let everyone know. Ariel Arredondo is joining us from Corpus Christi Metro Ministries, and he's with the HIP Coalition there, and I'm unmuting you. Athena Cortez is joining us from, I'm sorry, Athena, I don't remember where you're from, so you can type that in. City of Laredo. Thank you. Sydney is joining in place of Beth Rawlingson from Advocacy Outreach in Bastrop.
Here.
Okay, thanks for joining us. Brian in our office is joining. He is our accountant. And thanks for showing your interest, Brian. Carol Gresham is joining us from Safety in Mount Pleasant. Casey is joining us from our HMI support team here in the office. She's a new employee. It's her first week. Danny Coca is joining us from Hidalgo County. Dorothy Morris is joining us from SAM in San Antonio. Greg Grubb is joining us from PATH in Tyler. Hannah Adams is joining us from, well, I know it's Brownwood, Hannah, and I'm sorry I forgot the agency's name. And Linda Garcia is joining us from the city of Brownsville. Jean East is joining us from East Texas Crisis Center in Lufkin. Jennifer Lance joining us from Randy Sams in Texarkana. Jessica Contreras is on the line from Laredo. She's with WestCare in the office, and our HMIS project manager, Jesus De Leon Serratos, is joining us. Kelly Stallings has joined us from Comal County Homeless Coalition and Connections. Linda Hamlin is joining us from Midland and Midland Fairhavens. Lynn Lackey from Gulf Coast Center in Galveston is also on.
Hi.
Hello. Mary is joining us from the office. We'll be hearing from her as well later. Melanie Thornton Lewis is joining from the Salvation Army of Galveston. Melody Alexander is joining us, and I'm sorry, Melody, I don't remember who you're with. Monica Pena Rasmussen is joining us from La Posada. Pam Lewis joining us from Southeast Texas Planning Commission and the Southeast Texas Continuum of Care. Sandra Moore is joining us from Matagorda County Crisis Center. Suzette's joining us from Brazoria County. She represents no one, just a concerned citizen. We'll hear from her next. And Tracy Sepulvedo is joining us from Community Health Care. And finally, Teresa Chavez is joining us from the Salvation Army of Tyler. And I'm sorry, those of you I messed up your name or agency. Thank you so much for joining us for this meeting. I am going to go ahead and just mute everyone for right now because we are getting a lot of background noise. But type in your question if you need to, and I will I'll unmute you if you need to talk. Just let me know if you need to talk. But I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next topic here, and then I'll unmute you, Suzette. So, like I said, we only had one committee meeting this past month, and that was the COC Grant Review Subcommittee meeting, or meetings, I should say. This is the group that got together and scored the 2014 CLC project applications that we are submitting to HUD as part of the Continuum of Care grant. Each of the members took at least 12 project applications and reviewed them and ultimately scored them, and based on the scores prioritized them. So I'm going to let Suzette, the chair of that subcommittee, go into a little further explanation. So Suzette, I'm going to unmute you, and you are unmuted from my end.
Okay. So first, we prepared packets for review. Eric and Mary created score sheets for each application. Actually, Eric created score sheets for each application and scoring guides, individual scoring guides for permanent supportive housing and transitional housing projects. Those scoring guides directed the reviewers to the forms where they could locate the information they needed to enter into the score sheets. And those forms are things like APRs, the LOCS reports, that's the financial drawdowns, HUD audits, and leveraging letters. Eric and I went over the blank score sheets first just to see what they look like, and then Eric and Mary put application packets together as grantees sent in their information. They divided those packets between themselves, and they each checked their group of applications, determined completeness then they notified grantees of missing information or issues that they needed to remedy. Eric and Mary calculated leveraging. They also updated their own spreadsheets regarding what had been supplied to them, and they updated the application packets as grantees addressed missing items. Eric sent me, while they were working on that, Eric sent me 35 packets or so to review. And this was kind of a preliminary review, and my job was to score those as best I could with the information that I had at that time. I went I had to go into eSnaps and look for the most recent APRs and make sure that we had the most recent APRs in the packets. I also had to check prior applications and last year's score sheets for some grant awards amounts to enter data into the locks. As I went along, I notified Eric and Mary of when I found that there were no APRs, or the APRs were supposed to have been submitted but weren't, or if I couldn't find monitoring letters, or that sort of thing. To see how this would work, Eric and I scored a project together. And we did that to test the scoring guide, and we made a few corrections to the guide. And then I went on through each project application to set and scored them to set baselines for those applications. I took the figures from the APRs, the locks reports, the HUD monitoring letters, leveraging letters when I had them. I ended up giving up on the locks and HUD audit findings because there was too much missing information. So unfortunately, and to his woe, Eric went ahead and completed the locks information on his own. The next thing was to send, so that was the preparation part. After that, we went into the review panel component. Eric sent application packets to Anna Sonnenthal, Kelly Stallings, and Danielle Shaw. Each of them had about 12 applications to score. They only had to pull information from APRs and from monitoring letters because, as I said earlier, Eric was doing the locks reports data, and Eric and Mary had already completed the leveraging percentages. Then Eric scheduled a webinar so that we could explain the scoring process to those three review panelists. And he held conference calls after they finished, and they finished very quickly. I think they had like 48 hours to finish their scoring and report discrepancies that they found with those baselines during that conference call. There were discrepancies, mainly because I made mistakes, and as we went along, we learned some lessons. My lesson was don't try to do 9 applications in one sitting. So it's just, it's too mind-blowing. Then Eric checked the applications that seemed problematic, where we had big discrepancies, and we figured out what the problems were, and we fixed those. So in all, 5 people reviewed the applications: me, Anna, Kelly, Danny, and Eric. And Eric, like I said, Eric reviewed those that had problems. The projects were, then after that, the ranking process kicked in. And this was pretty much automatic. As we went along, as we scored, the scores automatically placed the projects in ranking order. But something different this year, which you all probably know about, is that projects were ranked by housing type. So all PSH applications were ranked as a group together, and the transitional housing projects were ranked as a group together, and then the planning and HMIS fell in there somehow. Eric, you can explain that part, because I don't know exactly where those ended up falling. So that's how we did it. We learned, like I said, we learned some lessons, and next year it should be a lot easier. For one thing, we can probably bring in, gather the locks data, reports data earlier in the year, as well as getting APRs earlier in the year as they're submitted. So that's what I have, Eric.
And that's perfect. You actually got into a little bit more detail than I even expected, but there is a lot of detail to this. And first of all, I want to thank you for the work you did and for all of the people that were involved with the review committee, because it was a lot of work. There were several hours and several late evenings spent on this, and I feel that we did a good job. I think we were fair, but just to make sure that we are going to share the scoring process with all of the project applicants. Of course, after we submit everything, we did let everyone know how we would score the projects ahead of time, of course, and everyone has been notified of their priority rank, which you're seeing here. And what Suzette had spoken of earlier was the fact that our COC a few months ago decided that we would keep the scoring tool that we used and still score applications and base their ranking somewhat on that score. But we would change from 2013 to 2014, we would change the process a little bit to align with HUD's priorities. So all projects were first prioritized by housing type, and by the housing type or project type that HUD prioritizes. So if you're familiar with these projects at all, you can see that I think the first 12, 13 are all permanent supportive housing projects, permanent supportive housing renewal projects. Next you have a reallocated rapid rehousing project, and this aligns with HUD's priorities or prioritization. Following that, you have all the transitional housing projects, which we have quite a few of. And then just like with HUD's prioritization, below transitional housing you have planning, and then HMIS, and then finally supportive service only projects. And so that's how they were ranked, first by category and then within category according to score. So in this scenario, Gateway, a permanent supportive housing project, scored higher than the first 12 projects. I don't know why you guys weren't seeing, hopefully you're seeing the ranking now. It should be up on. Mary just informed me that she was only seeing the score sheet. And we will give you access to your score sheet after we turn in the full consolidated grant by tomorrow or hopefully tonight. So this is the ranking. I'm hoping everyone can see this. And this is the ranking that the review subcommittee has recommended that the board vote on. And I do see that we have enough board members to vote. So Suzette, since you represent the review subcommittee, can I unmute you again and ask you to make that recommendation to the board? You are actually unmuted. You can unmute yourself.
So I'm sorry, you want me to recommend that the board approve the rankings?
Yeah,
so that's my request.
Okay, so Suzette, as the subcommittee chair, is recommending that the board vote on approving these recommendations. So I'm going to go ahead and go down the list of those who are here, and you can either type in your answer, or you can actually, why don't you go ahead and say I'll unmute you, and I'll start with Carol Gresham. Okay, go ahead. How do you vote, Carol, to approve or not?
Yes, I approve.
Okay.
I vote yes.
Okay. And I'm going to leave you unmuted. You can mute yourself if you want. I'll do that for everyone. Next I have Kelly Stallings. Let me unmute you first, Kelly. Okay, you're unmuted. How do you vote?
Yes, I'm unmuted now.
Okay, so you vote to...
Yes.
Okay. And next is Sandra. Let me get down to you, unmute you. Okay, Sandra, do you vote to approve?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And as I'm unmuting each one of the board members, I'm leaving you unmuted so you can mute yourself. Next is Jennifer Laurent. And Jennifer, let me unmute you. Okay.
I vote yes.
Okay, thank you. And actually, I still have a vote, so I vote yes as well. We had enough for the vote to be approved, so we will submit this to HUD on behalf of the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care. So the vote was unanimous. The board approved this priority ranking. Thank you very much. Okay. Actually, I'm going to have to unmute you all. I'm still getting some background noise. I want to actually say a few more things about this, just so everyone's aware of what we're doing with this. We scored and ranked 37 different projects. Now, we will only be submitting 36 to HUD because since that process, one of our grantees has decided that they do not want to apply for renewal funding. So it's very disappointing. It is a permanent supportive housing project. We definitely need those types of projects, but this project applicant met with their board, and their board decided that they did not want to apply this year. So there will be one less project applicant submitted than was scored and ranked. Now, what this results in is a total, and I should make this a little bigger. The total request for funding is a little under $7 million. And that's just slightly lower than what our grant inventory worksheet annual renewal amount, that's what this is, listed for us at the beginning of this process. So, so we're close to meeting that ARA total. Now, HUD did ask us to anticipate a potential 2% cut. So if we had the full grant inventory annual renewal amount, that cut could be about almost 139,000. But with the grants that we had dropping out and the slightly less amount that we're requesting, our potential amount of reduction is only 131,000. So that would leave us, if we were reduced, and I don't anticipate we will be, I'm crossing my fingers that we won't be, we would only be reduced by about, well, 131,000, we'd only be down to 6.8 million. So we wouldn't lose that much. Unfortunately, that would mean one of the project applicants would be hit, and of course that would affect the ones that are lowest ranked. Again, I feel that I'm very hopeful that we will be in the position we were in the 2013 competition and that everyone will be funded. But this is how it all shook out after we scored and ranked everything, and then we totaled up all of the funding request. So I'm going to send this out to everyone after the meeting and send out some more detail about what Suzette was talking about as well. Okay. Are there any questions about that? The only question that I have typed in so far about that. Oh yeah, we actually have two questions, and before I answer those, I want to apologize to Tracy Sepulvedo. I'm sorry I didn't ask you for your vote, Tracy. I didn't see your name on the list. I will remember that whenever we take the next vote. So the question, there was two questions. One of them was, can we know which agency is not applying and or is not applying for the renewal? And yeah, you can. You are part of the COC. So the Behavioral Health Center of Nueces County in Corpus Christi has decided not to apply for renewal funding this year. And the board made this decision late last week, and they did it for financial reasons. And they are aware that not submitting a renewal application this year will result in the loss of funding going forward. So there will not be an opportunity in the 2015 competition to recoup this money. So it is very disappointing. I hoped that everyone would reapply this year, but sometimes that happens, and so they are the ones that are not applying for renewal. And yeah, if there is a deduction, the question was, if there's a deduction, does it affect the lowest prioritized projects? And it could. It certainly could. If that full 2% is put into effect, it would greatly affect that lowest ranked project. But again, I'm hopeful that that won't happen. And remember that our scores, all of the continuum of care scores throughout the United States, they're based on the continuum of care application that we submitted in 2013. And the good news about that is we scored pretty well. We kept all of our funding in 2013. So again, I'm hopeful that we will again in 2014. All right, if there are no more questions, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next topic. And as always, send in your questions. I'm sorry the audio is, we're getting a background noise, but send in your questions if you have it to the chat or the question box. And if you need to, you can tell me to unmute you and you can ask the question on audio. Okay, so the next topic is the Southeast Texas Continuum of Care merger request. So for those of you who have been with us for a while, you're aware that we started out with about 180 counties, 181 counties, and then over the years we've grown because other continua have decided to merge with us. So I think, for example, one of the first continuums of care to merge with us was the Central Texas Homeless Alliance, and they covered Bell and Coryell counties, which is right around Fort Hood, if you know where that is. And they decided, we grew by 2 counties. And then eventually we had other continuums of care join us. The Northeast Texas Continuum of Care, which is Longview, joined us. Eventually the Gulf Coast Continuum of Care, which is Galveston, Missouri County, joined us. And then we've had several more since then. In each case, that Continuum of Care had some compelling reason why they needed to merge with us, or why they wanted to merge with us. And they all met about that as a continuum of care and made that decision together as a continuum of care, voted on it together as a continuum of care before they requested that we approve their merger. And since we have established a board, we are required to present this to our board for their approval. And so that's what we're going to do today. I am going to let the representative from the Southeast Texas Continuum of Care speak about that process in which they talked about the merger and why they decided ultimately that they wanted to merge. And then we'll want to share some information about that continuum of care with you before we do take that vote. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Pamela, and then I'll start bringing up some information on your continuum of care. looks like. Pam, if you can hear me, your audio pin is 113. Okay, looks like Pamela might be having some technical issues. So let me go ahead and get started without her. And Pamela, if you can unmute yourself, you can just jump right in. Okay, actually. Okay, you actually should go.
Hello, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties. You'll see the first one here. You should have gotten the email from Eric. If you didn't, you're not on his list, but you should be, so let him know, like that. And the USICH, which is the United States Interagency Council for the Homeless, are making available some technical assistance to help people in homeless situations who don't have easy access to health insurance and or health care to try to get connected by having us help them do that. And so the TA will be done in a number of different formats. You'll see here webinars, listservs, enhancements to HUD's Affordable Care Act webpage. And then they're also going to be asking in our APRs in the future about health insurance data of the people that we serve. And the final opportunity for TA is some on-site, in-person technical assistance. And so again, the point is that we're trying to help link healthcare and homeless services more closely together to make sure that our program participants are getting the healthcare that they need. So for the individual technical assistance, 20 sites across the country will be selected for that, and THN, as the lead agency for the BOS COC, has applied for in-person technical assistance that would benefit all the communities in the COC. Now, your community could go ahead and apply still if you wanted to, but we made an overall request for TA for all the BOS communities, hoping that HUD would work with us really closely on this and we could share the information with as many of our BOS communities as possible. So we have made that request on behalf of the COC, and I don't know when we'll find out, but the announcement said that the first groups will be selected in December. So we should know the first places that are going to get this TA in early December. And then I think they'll do a lot of it next spring. But we certainly wanted to take advantage of this opportunity for some technical assistance, especially related to healthcare. I know just in the past week, I got an email from a person who is helping people who have been in sex trafficking or human trafficking, and she was trying to get health care for the program participants that she serves, and so because many of them are also in a homeless situation, and so there's a lot of room for bringing more resources to our communities to help us help our participants get health care. I don't know if anybody has questions. I guess if you do, type them into Eric, and then he can.
I think I can relay them now.
Oh, hello.
Yeah.
I hear you.
I don't know what happened, but I am back. But you can continue on with your with this presentation before I move on to the Southeast Texas Continuum of Care.
Oh, you want me to go ahead and do the SSVF one?
No. Well, actually, I'll take the screen back if you're done. If no, it looks like no one has any questions.
Yes.
I do want to encourage people to apply for this if you think it would help your community or your agency. But like Mary said, we have applied on the Continuum of Care's behalf. But there is that technical assistance that's offered. I know a lot of the Continuum of Care grantees, at least when we're reading your annual performance reports, we see that your clients aren't getting a lot of these services. So if going to this training or getting some technical assistance would help with that, that would be very beneficial in our eyes, and we think it would be for you as a representative of those agencies. All right, I am taking the screen back, and hopefully this will work this time. And Pamela, hopefully I can talk to you this time. All right, let's see if you can. Okay, great. I'm sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, well, I'll let you just take it from here.
Okie doke. Hey guys, how are y'all? It's been a long time since I've seen or talked to a bunch of you. Here at the Southeast Texas Regional Planning Commission, we've been working for the Southeast Texas Coalition for the Homeless since its inception. We're the ones that got it started. We're the ones that applied for the first continuum of care grant for our area. And by the way, our geographical coverage area is Hardin, Jefferson, and Orange counties, and that includes the cities of Beaumont, Port Arthur, and Orange. The reason that we're now, after, I think we got started in the year 2000, asking to join the Balance of State, there's a lot of reasons, but I think the number one reason is it all boils down to money. We cannot afford to continue to be the sole entity that's running the coalition and the HMIS program here without additional funds. And we have looked for funds everywhere, we just can't find them. I have a staff member, one full-time staff member who handles most of the coalition dealings, the meetings, the homeless count, the continuum of care grant, et cetera, plus the entire HMIS for our area. And she's going to be leaving, and we're not going to be able to afford to replace her. We need help in a lot of areas. We need particularly, you know, I don't know how to say this, but our group has been the same 6 or 7 players since its inception, and we have been totally unable to get new grant funding. We always miss the funding line by a few points. One year we missed it by 1 point. We can't seem to get everybody to play well together. We can't seem to get, we've just had a lot of issues in our area, and we feel like if we could balance it, perhaps it would create better understanding among our members of especially our agencies that receive continuum care grant funds, that they have to show outcomes with the money they're receiving. We feel like if there's a little bit more competition in their world, that would be a good thing. We try every year to assist them with preparing their grants. We've kind of been babying them for 14 years. And they need to be part of the bigger world. We need to be part of the bigger world. We need to be part of the Balance of State from now on. And so that's basically why we're requesting it. Money, and we're losing personnel, and we at the Planning Commission can no longer afford to fill most of the pockets for this. We just can't afford to keep a full-time person. We're going to continue to do everything that we need to do locally and continue to organize all our groups. But as far as the continuum of care grant, HMIS, it would be wonderful if we were part of a group for that purpose.
Yeah, and well, it sounds to me, Pamela, that there's a lot of frustration, and you're just plain overworked, understaffed and overworked.
Yes, we are.
And I think that's happened to a lot of continuums of care since HARTH. HUD's expecting so much more out of each continuum of care, and if you don't have the staff to do the job the way that HUD expects you to do the job, and to fulfill the role as COC lead the way that HUD expects you to do, you will begin to lose points and eventually, in theory at least, funding. And I know that's something you're very worried about.
Yeah, we did lose some funding on one of our grants last year. It was a supportive services only grant, but it's been part of our continued. But yeah, they did lose a $150,000 grant last year. So that really hurt us. They got ranked last because they were supportive services only, and we did not get. So that's basically our reasoning. We want to be part of the bigger world. We want to have some help with our coalition and making it, a better coalition. We just need help.
Okay.
Funded. We can't seem to get the planning grant. We're always within a few points of getting. We have another apply. They haven't been able to get funding in their last 4 years. We always miss it by 2 or 3 points.
Okay. Well, could you tell us about how? I mean, you're giving us all the reasons. When did the group get together and decide this? How did you do that? Just real quick.
Okay, we got together our coordinating council, which is our board, and we got together all the continuum of care players, the ones that apply for the continuum of care grant, and we gave them. You had sent me a PowerPoint presentation that we kind of tweaked for our area. And we discussed it with them. We told them the reasoning behind why we would like to join Balance of State, and then we had a vote, and they voted to join to go ahead and that was about 2 weeks ago.
And the vote was unanimous, or was it just majority?
It was majority. We actually had 2 that voted not to, but everybody else joined.
Okay. Okay, and I just want to give everyone some more information about your continuum of care and what it would mean if you did merge with us. So,
and, that's really sad about this area is we have, I don't know, 1.3, 1.4 million pro rata, and we've never even come close to getting it all. I mean, we just lost that $150 grant. So we've got probably $600 and some odd dollars in funding right now. So we're not even utilizing half of our pro rata.
yeah, it's really tough right now to obtain new funding, especially with the continuum of care grant. But hopefully that will change soon. And if you do end up, if the merger is approved, then we could help you with that.
We do have ESG here too.
Yeah. So I asked. So you're an ESG. Your city is a ESG recipient as well.
Well, they applied as the lead agency with TDHCA because we couldn't. We're a COG,
Okay.
and COG can't apply for ESG funding. So we approached the city of Beaumont to apply for it. We worked with the grant, and basically Tyrona did most of the grant with the help, a little bit of help from the city, and we applied for ESG funds. And on our second try, we got ESG funds for 4 of our agencies.
Okay, so I'm going to let everyone know some more information. Tyrona, since Pamela mentioned Tyrona is the employee that she's talking about that is done. Well, I think we can say almost everything, Pamela, right?
Well, yeah, for the last 3 years, 4 years.
And she's the one that they're not going to be able to replace.
She's still got a job. She's transferring, but she just won't be the homeless coordinator anymore.
Right. And so I think that's really the big reason for this. But all of the other reasons that Pamela mentioned definitely are options or reasons as well. I asked Tyrona actually to send me some information about the continuum of care, and she sent me their point-in-time count. And this is the report from the last point-in-time count that they did, and you can see that homelessness is definitely an issue in the Southeast Texas continuum of care. Their total number of people that they counted for the 2014 PIT was 737. Like Pamela said, they do have some funding coming in. They have some continuum of care grants that go to these agencies, but like she said, they're not drawing down their pro rata at this point. And just so you know, Pamela, the Texas Balance of State is not either. Unfortunately, I think that pro rata is money that is being used by another COC somewhere, and that's the problem we have at this point. But we're really hopeful that that opportunity to obtain that funding will be opened back up in the 2015 competition. So hopefully we all can get closer to that pro rata than we are right now. But here are the HUD grantees right now, and I can tell you I've been involved with THN since '98, and I recognize a lot of the names on here. A lot of these people were funded while I was with THN way back then, so they've been involved with this for many years. So there is their list of Continuum of Care grant awardees, and then, like Pamela said, they have some emergency solution grant awardees. And so these are all under the City of Beaumont, but the City of Beaumont applies for this money through the state of Texas. Is that correct, Pamela?
That's correct.
Okay, so the money doesn't go directly to the City of Beaumont. Okay. All right, well, so...
Actually, it does.
Oh, go ahead.
The funding does go through the City of Beaumont.
Right, but you're not an entitlement area.
No, we're not
Yeah.
an entitlement.
Okay. That is the information that we were trying to get to you about the Southeast Texas Continuum of Care before. Before we ask the board to vote on this, I want to ask if there's any comments, any questions about this, and what it would mean for the balance of state continuum of care. And you're going to have to type in your question, or type it in and tell me to unmute you. Okay, well, no one is typing in. And I just want to say, actually, one more thing before we take a vote. We are trying to be very careful about how we do this with the Texas Balance of State. We have had interest from other continua in the past, and we're just trying to be conservative about how we do this, about how we bring in more areas. We don't want to in any way harm our continuum of care grantees, our ESG grantees, or just our continuum of care in general, just for the sake of growing. That's not what we're trying to do. Plus, we want to make sure that we have the staff capacity to manage communities that we have and communities that we may consider bringing on. So with all that in mind, we kept all that in mind whenever Southeast Texas Continuum of Care was discussing this with us. And we do believe we have the capacity, should the board decide to approve this merger. We do have the capacity to continue working with this continuum of care, plus those areas that have been covered or are currently covered by the Southeast Texas Continuum of Care. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and ask the board if they will vote on whether or not to approve the merger. So the recommendation or the request from the Southeast Texas Continuum of Care is for the board, the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care board, to approve a merger with RCOC. So I'll go ahead and go through the list. And actually, I'm going to ask you first, Tracy, since I missed you last time. Tracy, how do you vote? Do you vote to approve or disapprove this this merger? And it looks like okay, thank you. I didn't see you on the list to unmute you, but Tracy voted yes for the merger. Carol, I'm going to unmute you. Go ahead. How do you vote?
Oh, yes, I vote to approve the merger.
Okay. Kelly, you're next if I can find you. There you are. Okay, you're unmuted. Do you vote to approve the merger? Yes, she said yes. She typed it in. Okay. Sandra Moore, let me find you and unmute you.
Okay.
Oh, yes, I can hear you. You vote to approve?
Yes, it's 629-6571.
Hold on just a second. We had some background noise there. Okay, Sandra, now you're unmuted.
Yes.
Thank you. And Jennifer, you're the last one before me. Let me find you. Okay, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. She typed in. She does vote yes for the merger, and my vote's actually not even needed, but I do vote yes. So the Texas Balance of State Continuum of Care Board has approved the merger of the Southeast Texas Continuum of Care. And what happens after this is that we will contact HUD regarding the decision of both Continuum of Care boards, and then we'll have to send paperwork to HUD indicating that both Continua want to merge, and then they will have to do all their paperwork on their end, so it could be a slow process. We'll see. HUD is not always the fastest entity there, but Pamela, you can tell your Continuum of Care that our board has voted to approve that.
Thank you to everyone.
All right, thank you for sharing information about your Continuum of Care as well. And I'm muting everyone again one more time because I'm getting background noise. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the agenda here. Okay, next actually is the HMIS program update, and that's going to be Jesus. But before you get going, Jesus, let me pull up your bullet points here. Okay, Jesus, let me unmute you and you can go ahead and give your update. Okay, I've unmuted you from my end.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. I hope everybody can hear me.
Loud and clear.
Good afternoon, and well, let me start by saying hi to everybody. A lot of you have been actually hearing a lot from me lately, which is good. We're in a transition. 2014 HMIS data centers are in full effect right now. And yes, we're still in transitional, so there's a lot of really interesting things are happening. I wanted to start also by reading you this. I know I have 5 minutes, so if you do have questions, I want you to please email me. My email, you should have it by now. It's really easy, just jesus@thn.org. And please, again, I'm asking everybody that has questions. I mean, I don't have a lot of time today, but I do want to hear from you. Right now, times of transition are always strenuous, but I love them. And this is a quote from Kristen Armstrong, actually. They're an opportunity to purge, rethink priorities, and be intentional about new habits. We can make our new normal any way we want. And that's exactly the mindset that I am right now. There are changes, yes. I mean, you might see new work groups that are a necessary adjustment. If you don't know what work group is the best for you, ask us a question. Right now, we gave you access to the work group that you need to be. If you have if you run an emergency shelter, you have access to the THN HMIS emergency shelter work group. If you run transitional or permanent, you have access to THN HMIS housing work group. If you have any other HMIS programs such as homelessness prevention, rapid rehousing, SSBF, PATH, you should have access to the THN HMIS programs work group. But this means that if your agency is providing more than 2 different projects, then you might have to work from one work group to the next. And the reason is because every workflow is different. So we have been working with a lot of agencies that have come to us and approached us, and we are offering this for everybody as well. If you still have questions, don't hesitate. We're here. That's what we're here for, and we want to be able to help everybody that needs assistance. Today, actually, I sent an HMIS survey to all of the administrators. If you don't know what I'm talking about, is maybe I don't have you in my list. The list that I have is just for HMIS administrators, and that's the link that I have between your agency and our agency. So if you haven't heard any of these updates that I'm mentioning, you should go to and talk to your HMIS administrator, because that's the person that I'm actually contacting with most of this information. I'm asking them, and I ask you to as well, to rely this information on your staff. That is very, very important, because then we have questions of staff that are not even aware of all this information, and we'll have to refer them back to those emails. But again, we're here to help. Anytime you have all the, you have our phones, you have our emails, our support center is always welcome to hear from you. Remember, help is always available. I do want your help with that survey that I sent today, because that survey is going to help me map everything the right way. With all these changes that are occurring, we have new grants, we have new programs, and I just want to make sure that everybody is where they should be. So please ask your HMIS administrator for that list if you haven't heard from it, because it has been sent. If you're an HMIS administrator and you haven't received any of this, I probably don't have you on my list. I apologize. Just get to me, and I will make sure that I have you and I put you back up to speed to where we are right now. That's my report right now. And again, contact me anytime you want. It's back to you, Eric.
I like that. We can do this like an old-style newscast. But thank you for the report. And just so everyone knows, we're going to try to get consistent reports from HMIS on these calls. We want to make this part of the board meeting. And like Jesus said, go ahead and send them questions, contact them with the help you need. If there is anything you want to go ahead and type in now, you can. We can try to answer it very quickly, but like you said, we don't have much time. Actually, they're busy working on resolving some of these last few issues with this data standards change. So if you have something, go ahead and type it in, but I'm going to go ahead and move to the next item on the agenda. All right, so we had on the original agenda a recap of our conference on ending homelessness, but very recently, in fact, this morning we sent out a grant opportunity for technical assistance. This would be provided to your agency should you apply and are awarded for help creating a housing project. So if you did not get that from me already, you will get that after the call, because since you're on the call, I will email you. But it is a form that looks like this. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Okay. So essentially what it is a letter of intent to apply for this technical assistance, and then there are application questions, and it's pretty simple actually. So if you have any interest in working with a consultant that we have hired on developing a housing project, you should fill this out. The person that will be working with us is Diana Gray. She's someone who used to work with the Corporation for Supportive Housing. In fact, she used to be over the Texas office of the Corporation for Supportive Housing, and I have gone out to trainings with her quite a bit and seen her work with people on project development, and so she's very knowledgeable. So if you, like I said, if you have any interest in developing a housing project, you should take advantage of this and apply for this funding. Now, this funding is available to all of Texas, any agency in Texas, but the funding is prioritized for 4 continuums of care, and we're one of those continua. So we do have a very good chance of our agencies getting access to this help. So again, I'll say again, take advantage of this opportunity and apply. I think on here it says if you have questions, you can contact Ken Martin. He's our executive director, and he is leading up this project. So you can contact him, but you can also contact us if you need, and we'll try to answer your questions as best as possible. And if we can't, we'll find the answer for you. But this is available to 10 projects, and I hope that the majority of those 10 are from the Texas Balance of States. So send in those applications and get involved with that. Are there any questions about that? Okay. All right, well, I'll go ahead and move on to the last item. Mary has actually already talked about the SNAPS technical assistance, and thank you for saving me during that period of time, Mary. So I'm going to let her finish up with a discussion of the SSVF Notice of Funding Availability. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Mary, and make you the panelist. I'm sorry, making you the presenter. You're unmuted now.
All right.
And you should get the screen now.
Okay. Can you hear me, Eric?
I can, and we can see your screen.
Great. Okay, so Eric just showed you an opportunity for technical assistance with housing development, and that's specific to permanent supportive housing or rapid rehousing with a housing first or harm reduction approach. So that one's focused on housing development. This one is an opportunity from the VA, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. They are making available $93 million in additional money for the Supportive Services for Veteran Families program, or SSVF. And that's a 3-year effort to provide a surge of resources in communities with the highest need. There are 28 locations that have been selected, and the Balance of State COC is one of those priority communities. So very fortunately, we've been prioritized for some opportunities lately that not all COCs are getting. So it's an exciting time for us, and I hope that we're going to be able to take advantage of it. We do have 3 currently funded SSVF projects in the Balance of State COC. Community Health Corps, which operates Sabine Valley Center in Longview, Families in Crisis in Killeen, and West Central Texas Regional Foundation in Abilene. So we hope that through this kind of targeted funding, of which our COC has prioritized, that we'll get even more agencies in more of our BOS communities to apply and receive this funding. So what does SSVF do? That's here under SSVF program information. It's all about providing supportive services to low-income veteran families living in or transitioning to permanent housing. So they use a housing first approach to get those families out of homelessness as quickly as possible. And you'll see the bulleted list there of the items, or sorry, the activities that can be funded with these SSVF dollars. Everything from case management, outreach, and assisting people with obtaining all kinds of benefits. That should look very familiar to all of you. And then we go a little bit into homeless veteran data Oh, you know what? I'm just realizing we had meant to send this out ahead of time, but I think we haven't actually emailed it out to you guys because we just finished it right before this webinar. So homeless veteran data, you'll see since 2012, homelessness overall in Texas has dropped by 17%, but veteran homelessness in Texas has dropped by 40%. And a large part of that reduction, we think, is a result of more than the 4,000 housing vouchers through the HUD-VASH program and the support provided through the 14 SSVF programs around the state. Again, we have 3 within the BOS COC, and then there are 11 other SSVF programs in other COCs in Texas. And you'll see Eric calculated this. Without this support, the change in the number of veterans in homeless situations would not be a 40% reduction, but rather a 40% increase. And so, you know, as HUD and the VA have been increasing the amount of money available to address veteran homelessness, a number of communities have made really great progress. And in fact, in the Texas BOS COC, our point-in-time count in January of this year showed 1,178 veterans, and that was about 14% of all the people we counted that night. But it's a 20.5% decrease in homeless veterans compared to the 2012 point-in-time count. So that is really great progress for 2 years. And again, with even more resources dedicated to serving veterans and veterans' families, we think we'll make even more progress. Then the next paragraph talks a little bit about the impact of SSVF on a national level. For the past 2 years, they've served almost 100,000 veterans and their family members, and they had really excellent outcomes in terms of getting people into permanent housing for a really, to me, remarkably low cost. So you'll see that 86% of program participants who exited had a successful permanent housing outcome, and 84% of program participants and 82% of veterans were in permanent housing at exit in the second year. And the costs were about $2,800 per household in the first year, and then reduced to $2,400 in year 2. And the VA is attributing that reduction in cost to lower service costs and greater efficiencies achieved by renewal grantees. So I guess as the grantees ran the program longer, they were able to find efficiencies. All right, so what do you need to do if you're interested in applying for SSVF? Well, on the VA website, there is a fillable application, and you'll see I have the link there for you. And the groups that can apply for the funding are private nonprofits or consumer cooperatives. Application and training materials are available, and applications are due December 5th at 4 o'clock Eastern, not Central. But we want to help even more, so we're having our own webinar on SSVF. Sophia Cheka, our Coordinated Access Specialist, has been working with Tamara Wright, who's the Southwest Regional Coordinator for SSVF, and she's going to do a webinar just for, well, I shouldn't say that. She's targeting BOS communities, but I don't know that other people can't participate. I'll have to check on that. But there's a link there where you can register for that webinar, and that will be held next Wednesday, November 5th. So the webinar is next Wednesday, November 5th at 10 o'clock Central, and the application is due a month later on December 5th. All right, and then this appendix to this memo, just I copied a lot of the information right from the VA website, so you'll see the first link is to the announcement itself and the NOFA. The next 3 hyperlinks there are for the application materials. So there's an online template that you will fill in online and submit that way, so there's no paper. There's also a budget template that you'll fill in online and an eligibility screening form. And what that form does is you will get approval. If you get an award, you'll get approval from the VA ahead of time for the criteria that you're going to use to prioritize which program or which applicants to your program will get served first. So kind of some program guidelines, information that the VA wants to know ahead of time. And so in the webinar, we won't be talking about the application so much. We'll be talking more about what is SSVF and what's the purpose and how have some programs been operating, what kinds of difference have they been making, what their experiences as grantees have been. But you'll see here, also on the VA website, there's a NOFA training materials, a NOFA workshop PDF version and a recording. They're both from July of this year, but I'm guessing since they are the ones that are referred to us, they're still applicable. Certainly at least the general information in those is available. And they're really comprehensive about talking about what is SSVF. And then also on their webpage was what they called important program information. So those are, it looks like some reviews of prior application processes. Also the SSVF fiscal year 2013 annual report, which gives a lot of the results and success from the SSVF program for the past couple of years. There's the SSVF program guide, so you can see exactly what would be expected of you guys as grantees. There's the final rule for SSVF, effectiveness of permanent housing, and some accredited agencies. And then just some additional information we wanted to pass along to you. Had also recently announced, I don't know, oh, it's not going up because I'm at the end of my page, that the 2014 SSVF Awards and the 2015 SSVF Awards. So this is a sort of a third pot of money of SSVF that the VA is making available. Again, they've prioritized 28 COCs around the country, and we very fortunately are one of those. And so I hope that means that any applicants from the BOS COC would be very competitive for this funding. And then finally, Sophia asked us to add this blog entry from National Alliance to End Homelessness. It's entitled, "We have the funding to end veteran homelessness, now what?" And it's just another way of kind of looking at, all right, how are we going to get started with addressing veteran homelessness in our own community if we haven't already. So you will be getting that, I hope, later today in an email. And please spread the word to any organization in your community that you think might be interested in applying for SSVF, because we certainly would love to pull some more of those funds into our BOS communities.
Yeah, and I should add that from what we've been hearing, this funding is not going to be around forever. So you should definitely take advantage of that and really make a dent in veteran homelessness. And actually, one of the people that's joining us, Tracy Sepulvedo, his agency, Community Health Corps, they have one of these grants. You can see that they're listed. They also have some other grants to help move veterans out of homelessness. And he sent me some information to send all of you in the chat box, which I did, and it's information for Harrison Kinney of his agency. So if you need some advice about this project, or maybe just some general information, you might consider contacting Harrison and getting that from him. So that's someone who's actually running the program. And if you need for us to try to find other pieces of information for you or other people to talk to, just let us know about this project. We do have some contacts around the state that could probably help you when you're preparing your application. So thank you so much, Mary. Okay, I think that is the end of our agenda here. Let me pull up. Yeah, that was the last thing. Before we go ahead and log off, I want to make sure that there aren't any other questions. So go ahead and speak up or type in if you have anything to add or if you have any questions. And while you're considering doing that, let me remind everyone that during this calendar year, we will be meeting one more time, and that's November 19th. So that is the Thursday before the Thursday we generally meet, but that occurs because of Thanksgiving. So we will be meeting a little earlier in November, and we will not be meeting in December. We'll be getting you the 2015 board meeting calendar soon. But that will be the next time we meet, and we'll send out agendas and items before that. But one of the things we'll definitely be talking about is the continuum of care governance that we had talked about in some of the summer months. So we'll resume that discussion in November. And everything that we talked about today and all the materials that we showed, we will send to you after this call is over. And later, once we're able to compile everything, we will send you notes. And we will also try to upload the recording. That's sometimes difficult because of the size of the file, but we'll try to get that up there for you. Okay, well, it looks like there are no questions or comments that have come in, so I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. And thank you so much for joining us today. And get back to your busy days and your busy weeks. And we will talk to you again soon. Thank you so much.